Evgeny, bro. Alien
Insane.
Romulus 2024, bro. How do you feel about it, bro? Was it peak? Was it not?
I want to say it was like 9.7 out of 10. It was
That,
incredible.
that's a high score. That's a high score.
So one little nitpick about the generative AI for the voice, for the face, but
Mhm.
it's the only thing. It's like it sinks you into a pool, and it only takes you out for that moment. You catch your breath, but then you're back under the water, and it really doesn't matter.
That's facts because I feel like that's true. Like when the movie starts, it's like okay, like they're setting up plot. There's like a good 50 minutes of plot setting, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
after, as soon as it starts like rolling again, there's no spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil, but as soon as that beginning sequence where trouble starts happening, I feel like you don't catch your breath. Like
No,
you're just there on the edge. Like wait, is it gonna turn up? Is it gonna turn up even more every second? You know what I mean?
there's not a single moment for you to relax. I
At
think
all.
that's kind of how it felt. And even the opening sequence kind of provides you that you're following these characters, but still you realize that they're going somewhere where it's gonna turn up, and it's not gonna be in their favor at all.
At all. And you know it, and I feel like too, you can kind of see it in the main character. She knows that something is about to be amiss, like and it's set too in stone in a sense, like you get to see the world they live in, and like okay, like it's just like post-apocalyptic, you know what I mean? Like it's like one of those like dystopian like sci-fi situations. So there's already no hope, but for some reason everybody's sort of hopeful in their plan to escape. But the main character, she just has a feeling shit is gonna hit the fan, and she was,
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, and look, because we were talking about it off screen, you know what I mean, off camera, we did raise a couple of themes, and like one of the really dope themes that you did mention was motherhood. You know what I mean? So like I'd like for you to tell me, bro, how do you think the theme of motherhood came about in the movie? Do you think it represents anything? Like, what's the conversation being had right there?
I mean, it's everywhere. It's in the substance and it's in the form itself. I feel like there's so many visual symbolism of that, and even just more hidden ones. I like to call this movie like there's a lot of levels to it, and there's a lot of gates that the characters go through, and there's a lot of lines and gates the characters cross symbolically, but also physically.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah,
Gates is such a hard. That's tough. My fault. Keep going. That's actually tough as fuck. They do go
yeah.
through gates. That's unique. That's a unique.
A lot. And what I also noticed is that like even the gates, even the way they look, the shapes, there's a lot of like wound shapes. Like when they first enter the station, it's circular. I mean, the way the egg in the ship looks, like,
Right.
which I'm trying to keep it
Right.
spoiler
We're,
free,
we're
but
trying
like
not to spoil.
the
We're trying not to spoil. Go see the
we're
movie.
saying exactly we're gonna dive in, so like thread it at your own will, but
Uh-huh.
and cautiously. But the egg, let's say the egg, the main one, that when everything goes
That
to
one.
from 10 to 100, it's the shape of it, it's clearly meant to represent like vagina, and it looks like birth, and then with a lot of actions, it's a forced birth, and not even to mention the big plot twist of one of the characters being a mother.
That's the biggest
Um,
plot twist. You know what I mean?
the biggest plot twist, and then what happens to the third act to her,
Right.
and also with mother, Mother Nature is also in play, because we're discussing talking a lot about transhumanism.
Right.
That's like
Right.
one of the main plots
By
of the
far.
movie.
By far. And in
Yeah.
terms of that too, you had mentioned too, like in terms of the transhumanism, you did mention
Hmm.
that the main AI of the ship, you know what I mean, the entire system is called
That is also
Mother.
called Mother.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's
it's it's it's it's AI, but it also seems like a language, because it said you speak mother,
right.
talking to that actor, who I have to say leagues above everybody else in that movie,
Run.
the
Andy is
acting
a
wise.
dog. Andy is a dog. Andy is a
Leagues.
dog, bro. You know what I mean?
He definitely said if somebody's getting any kind of prize out of this, it's gonna be me.
It
He
has to
just
be.
outacted everybody.
He did. He honestly did, and I feel like you know what I mean. I was like really pleasantly surprised with like all the actors because when I saw the trailer, it was all young actors who had nothing to do with the
Hmm.
franchise. Again, like there's nothing to do with the franchise. You know what I mean? And it's like I was like, okay, like maybe they're going off more of a mainstream vibe where it's like, okay, let's get some young folks, let's make this a regular
Yeah.
like horror. But nah, they acted the fuck out of their roles. You know what I mean? And it's like
Hmm.
it was especially the main character Rain too. She was really good. You know what I mean? Like she
Yeah,
acted her. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like you know what I mean? Marry me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm kidding. And if I were to say like oh no, you already gave a rating. You already gave a rating, right?
Yeah, like, but it's, yeah, the only, like I said, only subtract is the weird use of like the older actor, which I understand it's a franchise, not a franchise. But I think the one of the best parts about this movie is that you can watch it having never watched Alien. Me, I've only seen the
Facts.
first one. I'm yet to see Aliens. It's like it's on the list now,
It's
obviously,
great.
like
It's great.
this week.
Uh,
But having not seen it, like I heard about all the plots and all the like the
yeah.
prequel and the sequel and quadruquel,
Mm,
but one way or another, I have only seen the first one, and
right.
that's the only technically movie you need to see to watch this one,
Literally.
because it's so fantastically by itself and stands so confidently on its own feet. I felt like the little franchise CGI AI insert was entirely unneeded.
It was dookie. It was ass. It was ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, I'm an Alien fan too. You know what I mean? So like, obviously, I respect the nod. You know what I mean? Incredible actor. Rest in peace. You already know. But the thing is, is like, you could have you could have used any. You could have just created a new
So
synthetic.
he was from the first one, right? Or
He was from the first one, so he's the
so
scientist.
why isn't he supposed to be dead? That's
So
what I'm
so so
saying.
he's the
It's like the
thing.
same model, I guess.
So the thing is, it's very ambiguous, right? It's said to
Okay.
either it's clearly not said to be him, the same person, because he got
Mm-hmm.
decapitated in the first one, and in this, it's half
Yeah.
of his body, and it's a different ship. But the thing is, it's like he was this scientist like throughout the entire movie. Alien spoiler! If you haven't seen Alien, spoiler. You know what I mean? So like basically in the first movie in Alien, he's just a scientist on board, right? He's a scientist
Right.
by hired like this by the company. Was it Whaley? I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
My alien card is getting revoked. But anyway, so he's a scientist on board, and basically he's the whole reason why the entire story was derailed, and the reason why they
Exactly.
confronted the alien and everything. And it turns out he was a synthetic. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like at the end of the Alien, you start to think, well, are every synthetic created by the company just meant to get what I mean, to sort of create or just get the xenomorph, you know what I mean, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the goal. So now with this movie, it's as if they're trying to pause it or say, well, every synthetic from that generation were probably all that guy. They were probably on
Mm-hmm.
every single spaceship, and their goal was probably to make a xenomorph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still ambiguous, so we're gonna see if they continue this on. But yeah, but I don't think it was
It felt
necessary.
unneeded. Yeah.
Exactly. Like like look, if you like Evgeny said, if you've never watched Alien and you go into this movie, you're not gonna be lost. Like you can absolutely go watch this. I encourage
You're
everybody
gonna
to
have a
go watch
great
it.
time. You're gonna
Exactly.
have a stomach churning,
Oh,
bad taste in the mouth. I had it as soon as we stepped out, and
oh.
it took a while in the meal until it got out.
Oh God! Oh God! Hey, look, your stomach is gonna be in knots. I was dummy lit when I went to go see. I got dummy high, and guess what? It was the scariest. I shat bricks. I shat bricks. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But there was another team that I think we should talk about. And
Mm-hmm.
that's basically the conversation between because you did mention transhumanism. The
Mm-hmm.
conversation between what is humanity? You know what I mean? Like clearly, this is a world
Mm-hmm.
where humanity is able to explore different planets, go across the galaxy, and there's clearly a need as well because it seems that humanity has sort of reached its pit goal in terms of evolution, or at least that's what the Alien franchise is saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think
Yeah.
one thing that a lot of people either don't know or kind of forget is that every single alien we've seen in Alien are all made from human DNA. Those are all human or half human or part human aliens. They're not aliens
See,
from another
I didn't know that tad bit of lore. I thought
Of
he was
course,
just like
that's the thing.
a
That's the thing.
nuisance, like
Right.
a space parasite.
No, exactly, and then like that's how they presented, and like in Alien, and like until we got Prometheus and Covenant, we never knew this, you know what I mean? But now we know every single alien that we've ever seen. We've never seen a full blown alien. There have always been a human made with human DNA. So the question is this: it's like, well, are they more human than monster, or are their monster side really what makes them human? Just like the synthetics we were talking earlier. Well, they're created by humans, and clearly they're able to act without humanity sometimes, or at least that's how we would say it. But in that sense, often they really just resemble what humans would do. You know what I mean? Like, so
Hmm.
and yeah, not to yak too much about it, but like, how do you see, like, now that I gave you that piece of the lore, like, how do you see that whole conversation between humanity in the movie? You know what I mean?
Like it's an interesting thing you bring up because like if this is what essentially was the goal and to bring the transhumanism to a level of being a perfect organism
Mm-hmm.
is the perfect organism is what destroys you.
Right.
They claim to have created like and like they try either to create or extract, but then essentially all of the creation of the
Yeah.
perfect organism ends up destroying whether it is the xenos themselves that that we've seen like through the whole franchise or like the Act 3 moment of this movie. I don't know how
Yeah.
we're dancing on
Of
spoilers,
course.
but
No, of course
this is a
we're
big
talking.
one.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
you know, not sure about this, but yeah, even the Act 3 itself, like the biggest twist, and kind of like makes sense that it would happen, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't believe it happens
Right.
until you really see her do that motion with her hands on the you know what and like connecting again to the themes of motherhood basically I pretty much said it but
Yeah, of course.
um
No, no, this could be a spoiler clip. This could be a spoiler clip. Look, it's all good. This is a
yeah
spoiler
this could
clip.
be a spoiler clip
Just for the ones who've watched the
like
movie.
exactly like your child destroys you and
Yeah.
like your creation destroys you and
Yep.
it's insane how many levels is this movie first of all and it's
Mm-hmm.
insane
Yeah.
yeah it's like is this the final frontier is to destroy ourselves as like or rather all these old sacrifices that we made to achieve this final form which is like let's say the xenomorph being like the ultimate form of humanity
Mm.
is it really was getting there worth it.
And it's interesting you say that because there's the worst movie in the Alien franchise. It's called Alien Resurrection, right? And
Mm.
that was technically the latest movies that were made until Prometheus was made in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And like basically, it's this movie where we get the first humanoid xenomorph, but he doesn't look like a human at all. He still looks like a human, right? But he's
Mm-hmm.
literally born from a human, right? That was the first time
Mm-hmm.
we've seen it, and he wasn't born through a womb, like through a womb of a woman. But it's complicated. Like it's a whole genetic mutation type thing, right? And in that movie, even though Resurrection is ass, Alien stands don't get on my ass, it's ass. One thing that was super interesting is that in the final moments where they do kill the humanoid xenomorph, the main character, you know what I mean? Who's kind of like playing the mother, like the xenomorph sees it as its mother, you know what I mean? Doesn't attack it. The way they, like, once they kill it, you actually see and hear the xenomorph crying out to his mother in front of him, and then you see her crying as she sees it die. So I think what was really cool is like you actually
Mm-hmm.
saw the emotional bond between a humanoid xenomorph and a human, whilst in this movie you actually see the opposite. You see the
Mm-hmm.
mother like realizing, oh shit, this is my offspring, and then you see it like you see the humanoid xenomorph sniffing her and clearly realizing this is where I come from, and still chooses to kill. Like there's no
To
emotional bond.
destroy yeah
Exactly. So I
it's very interesting that they took that route as well. Yeah, but I think it's very in line with the whole what I create destroys me. Whether it is like the AI that they've made, like the
right,
synthetics bringing in the xenomorphs to essentially,
right,
while they remain not invulnerable to them, but rather
yeah,
they usually are indifferent. You know, they can coexist essentially with
exactly,
xenomorphs being robots. But yeah,
exactly.
so like
And
all that I create aims to destroy me after
of
all.
course, and again, like not really spoiler, but if like in case you haven't seen Prometheus, and I'm sorry if you end up getting to
Mm-hmm.
see it, but the first xenomorph was created by a synthetic. It was a synthetic who
Yep. Right. I heard by Michael
So
Fassbender. Yeah.
exactly. So it is true. Like like how you say like they cohabit. The only other instance where we see a xenomorph relate to another being as a parent is at the end of Covenant, and like it's
Hmm.
David. He looks over his creation, like the perfect xenomorph. You know what I mean? And he puts his arm up, and the xenomorph puts his arm up, like looking at his dad. And it's
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
and it's like I think it's really cool. Like you mentioned that because even without
Hmm.
it is true like they can coexist and like
Yeah,
they're not gonna kill them unless the synthetic tries to harm a xenomorph. They're just gonna
exactly.
so that's really interesting,
True. And I didn't even consider. Yeah.
of course, and of course too as well too. You did mention something. Going back almost on the cinematography because even though
Yeah.
again, I love Alien. You know what I mean? It's a great verse. There's a lot of good movies. There are okay movies as well, but there are a lot of good movies. There's one good video game as well. Like there's good lore. It's a good verse, but what stands out has always been the cinematography. The best Alien
Mm.
movies are this like, and when I say cinematography, I am somebody who's inexperienced. Don't come at me. I just mean it is a beautiful movie, right? So it's more than
Yeah.
just cinematography. And
Uh,
in this
yeah.
movie, no, yeah. So tell me how you feel as somebody experienced. How do you feel about
But that I agree with you saying like I don't come at me. It's a beautiful movie because funny enough, it is, and like I know it's frowned upon to say it's a CGI shot, what cinematography, but the composition of that CGI shot, first of all, like the singularity of the ship coming in, like becoming dark and slowly turning on lights in the beginning and doing the same at the very end.
Oh,
That's beautiful, and like everything in space, the space is gorgeous, like that
oh,
whole rings and planets, and it all takes space. It's so confined, yet it's so grand. Um, and all the set design, obviously, it's like a lot of the times it's I haven't seen I've seen a lot of shots that were like, oh my god, but there was never really anything distracting you from what's going on. The cinematography was there just nice enough to keep you tense and keep you engaged.
right.
But the place of lighting,
Oh,
the everything was beautiful.
I,
It's
I don't know if you
so drawn in.
it was like I don't know if you remember that one shot, you know what I mean, where like they're like it's kind of the climax, you know what I mean, and like it's
Mhm.
like they're it's like they're gonna face off the xenomorph in that one like long hallway ish, and like the floor there's like these lights. I don't know if it's LED
Yes, the
lights.
blue
The
lights.
blue
Yeah.
lights, oh that shit was, and it's like it's such a like like it's such an action packed. It's almost the climax of the movie. You would think like, oh, like what good cinematography of that would like kind of distract you, like you said, about the action that's about to happen. Like they didn't have to make that shit so beautiful, but they made it gorgeous,
Hmm.
and it still didn't distract you from like.
Levels and intention I was gonna point out. And now just coming back to me, it's like so many levels, especially on sound. I went with my friend who's a musician. He's very fixated on sound, and he noticed even the alarm at the since we're going back to spoilers,
Oh
like in the third
yeah.
act on the ship itself when she's giving birth and is getting eaten by her own offspring.
Oh,
The alarm, he said, sounds like it's going mother, mother, and I
oh,
really like that he noticed that. I don't remember myself, so I had to get it pointed out to me. But
bro.
again,
Now I gotta
so many
insert the clip.
levels.
I gotta insert the clip because that's crazy. I didn't even think of. Shout out to Larry. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even it didn't even click in my mind. But honestly, like I only went to go see it. Well, we both only went to go see it once. Now I need a
Yeah,
rewatch because that's
I might have get a rewatch as well. It's
you know what I
so
mean. It's so worth it. And like how you mentioned the alarm at the beginning too. Like that shit again. The horror factor. Like they played on spookiness. It is a spooky movie. It's ready for spooky
yeah,
season. It's spooky. That alarm just it's uncomfortable, but then
yeah,
it just turns out and it's like, oh, it's just her alarm in the morning, and it's just every element of it was just perfect. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It was something else.
And now that you say about horror, yeah, it's not scary. It doesn't rely on a lot of jump scares, but it does keep you tense throughout without mercy.
without mercy. That's tough. That's and it's true. It's true because like I think the first time where somebody gets hold, you're sort of hopeful. You're like
Yeah,
that first scene where you're like, oh, like this is kind of still the beginning. It's only 30 minutes in. Like yes,
yeah.
they're clearly about to get
They
hold.
can still be smart about it and just get
Exactly.
out.
You're like,
They
oh
can
yeah,
cut their losses.
they can cut their losses exactly, and like it does, and also they make it seem like, oh yeah, they made it out, but then that one little thing leaks
Yes.
out, and then you're like, oh shit, like there's just kind of is there like not gonna be any hope at all? Like you know what I mean? Like if that
Yeah.
first instance is already holding them, like and then of course it gets confirmed for throughout the rest of the movie. It's like there's just no hope. It's just tense all along because that sets a scene. You're like, oh shit, like
That's what I meant to say is that it's, I think we always talk about like, oh, this horror character is so stupid, it's so dumb. But
Yeah.
what I like here is that they all acted smart
Oh
and they were all acted like in their best interest. And
yes.
like realistically, I would even say, yes, some hangups here, but like it's a movie. Like, let's not expect it too much. I hate when people do that online and they like, whoa, how
Oh
did
my
this
god.
work? It's like, it's a movie, it's not real.
Twitter,
Like, there's the,
Twitter.
exactly, exactly. But one way or another, they made all the correct choices and it still went down in such a horrible way.
It
So,
did. And then no, you're right. I love it when a character earns their death. You know what I mean? Like in a horror
mhm.
movie, they earn their death. So look, I look, got only two more questions, right? So the first
Okay.
question, first question is this: How do you feel like in terms of character development? Do you think there was any character development? Like, what's the one character, one or two characters that stood out? And like, did you see any character development? You know what I mean? You did mention something that was cool in terms of Gates. You know what I mean? So like, let
Yeah,
me
I mean, there's all crossing gates, a lot of crossing lines. It's metaphorically and physically in the space. So
Oh,
whether it is like, bodily autonomy of the synthetic, like how she reaches and then he kind of
ooh,
stops her on a second time. Um,
I didn't even think of that.
Honestly, yeah, like there's a lot of like there's a conversation of bodily autonomy again, levels. And in terms of character development, honestly, I can't really say too much, but because I was so distracted by the synthetic's amazing performance,
Oh my
that
god! I mean, he had character
yeah,
development like crazy. You know what I mean?
yeah, he went up, down. He uh, he realized how much he prefers the life that his autonomy,
Oh,
essentially, over the spot. Like, he gave up, essentially. If
yeah.
anything, he is the one who morally wins in the whole
Mm,
situation, because he tastes the transhumanism, quote unquote, of
mm,
having a better AI, having um, a better bodily autonomy. It's a big plot point that he fixes his jitters when he gets a better chip.
right.
But once opportunity presents itself to not to come back or stay the way he is,
Mm.
he decides to rather maintain his autonomy despite the improvement.
That
So
is tough. That's
I
tough.
think, yeah.
Yeah, and on that too, like when Rain finally takes away the chip as well, it's like he got bodily autonomy and like intellectual autonomy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where like if he felt more of an individual, of course he was still a synthetic with like an overriding command, which is
Mm-hmm.
like do what's
Yeah,
best for Rain. But it did seem like he almost got a form of like intellectual or like even spiritual independence. You know what I mean, from his own code.
absolutely.
So that's stuff. I think for me too, I'd say Andy. Andy is definitely the character that stood out the most for me. Rain is obviously a second. I think they both stood out. I love seeing Rain sort of her character development went from like, oh, like the only person I can trust is my synthetic, and then being like sort of presented with with a view of him where she's like, oh wait, actually I can't trust him, until deep down
Mm-hmm.
she sort of had to battle her own intuition and be like, no, I know deep down he's just being corrupted, like I can still trust him, and she sacrificed herself to go save him. And I love that character
Mm-hmm.
development from her. And of course Andy, his
Mm-hmm.
character development, Jesus, bro, you know what I mean? It's like he just went from a sort of he felt, and this is gonna be bad. He felt like an appliance at the beginning of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then when he got the chip, he got a bit more. like autonomy in the sense, obviously it was bad because he was doing things his own way, harming people. However, it was the first inkling of like, oh, autonomy, personality, or like, like free will. And then when Rain finally took away the chip, it's as if he had evolved past both of those stages, where like now he was still good-willed, but also was like had his own free will almost, you know what I mean? So definitely for
Mhm.
me, character development goes to Andy. And final question: is there a one scene that stands out, or one sequence where you were just like, "Damn, they cooked"? You know what I mean?
I'll say three. Well, like I said before, when the ship comes in, the whole opening sequence, when the ship comes in from the darkness, immediately I locked in. I sat down
Peak.
straight in my chair. There was no
Well
relaxing
said.
happening. I was like, okay, there was no relaxing happening. There was absolutely, I'm like,
The
something happening here. It's gonna
absolutely.
be peak, yeah.
Yeah.
The face huggers
Oh, in the water.
in the freezer, not in the water,
Oh,
but
in
in the
the
freezer, that
freezer.
tension, and when he froze up himself in that pose, Andy,
Oh,
as well, like just an extra issue for the tension,
oh my God.
because the audience knows what are these for,
Mm.
but they don't.
They had no
Um,
idea. Oh my God, that was crazy. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
and honestly, the last confrontation, the last battle,
Oh,
oh my god,
oh,
it's like, just please, just come on, just, oh, and it's still here, come on, just come
yo,
on, and like,
it kept
it's
surviving.
it can push beyond everything, but she pushes further, and they keep like going and going and going, and
Oh,
it's like, oh, the door, oh, she can just eject, no more, no more,
oh.
more. Ah,
She battled it out. She earned, and again,
dude, it's so, yeah, it's how
and
you said about earning death.
exactly, she earned her survival there. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
she earned it. No, no. Honestly, those are three
How
shots.
about you? How about you?
For me, there's one shot. I mean, I think the opening shot is definitely like you said. It sets a tone. You're like, oh shit, they put time into this. Like, they, like you said, intention. It was clear intention. But for me, the sequence slash shot that stands out the most is when Rain is in zero gravity
Oh,
and
how could I
she's
forget?
shooting up these niggas. And then there's the motherfucking acid everywhere, and she jumps in them. Oh,
How could I forget? It's beautiful.
it's gorgeous. Like, they cooked with that. Like, I sat there, and,
Yeah.
and that's another thing too, right? So to every moviegoers, you know what I mean, especially if you're in Canada, you may have the option to go see a movie with something called a D box seat. And when I tell you it is worth the extra $10, that shit was crazy because as
Oh
you were
yeah.
suspended in 3D, the seat
Nah.
move. And it's actually well
Oh,
calibrated. You know what I mean? So you're
that's
literally
insane.
floating with her, and it was one of the best like experience at the cinema I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean?
Oh my god,
You
that's
know, it's
insane.
it's so insane. And like, I remember the first time I had heard of like seats like that, I'm like, oh, that sounds a bit corny, but like until you experience it, like you realize like, no, like they take time to actually like match it to the movie and everything. Like it's a really good experience. So I recommend
It must be that. That's a perfect sequence to experience that seat, and
it
I think,
is.
because like, oh
I
my
was
god.
floating with rain. I was floating with rain. You know what I mean? So shout out to D-Box for that. But bro, that to me, that's the best. That's the best. Not the best in the terms like it's the best. It just sticks out to me. You know what I mean? And yeah. So that was peak. That was peak for me. And if I were to give it a
Amazing.
a fan rating, I'd say
Mm-hmm.
I'd say look, it's a straight up 9.5, 9.7, 9.8 movie. If I have to give it an objective rating, like if somebody, let's say, doesn't really care about like Alien, is just trying to see this movie, I think this is a very good movie. You know what I mean? It's not the best movie of 2024 I saw, so I'd give it, I think, objectively, like a good solid 8, 8.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
a must see. I think it's a must see.
Exactly, exactly. You know what I mean? So if I were to ask you those ratings, like if I were to say just off of pure enjoyment and then
Yeah.
like a more objective like rating, like which one?
Of pure enjoyment, like as soon as you walk out the theater, it's a general feeling. What's the last movie? To me, when somebody asks what's the best movie you ever seen,
Mm.
it would be the last movie I saw usually, because
Oh, you could.
just because it's so, like, filmmaking is so beautiful, and it's just,
Damn.
you can't get enough of it. So
Mm.
straight up the theater, straight up enjoyment. Yeah, exactly. I said 9.5, 9.
Yeah.
Uh, objectively, after I stepped out and kind of sat with it, and it's been a couple of days today that we're
And you know
talking
his shit.
about it.
He knows his shit. He knows
Yeah,
his shit.
yeah, it's an 8. It's an 8. It's an 8 out of 10.
And
It's
that's a
it's
very good
really
rating.
good, and there's still some stuff that was like kind of like it's not perfect, but it's
Facts.
really good. And if it's something you want to see, it's like if you want to see a horror this year, this is the one to see, I think.
It's great. You know, it's a great watch. You know what I mean? And you'll enjoy. I think that's very fair.
Hmm.
Like eight for an objective rating. Eight is very high. You know what I mean? Like most movies, I think they
Yeah,
sit between 6.5,
6 and
7.5. You know
7. Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? So eight is a good movie. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro. I think that's a W cover. Look.
yeah,
Then we need to
nice.
figure out the next movie we gotta see because that's another thing too. You know, like before we sign off, like I think one thing that I hope gets transmitted to the next generation because COVID fucked it all up for everybody. But
Yeah, we
I
gotta
you
go
gotta
to the
go to
theaters.
the theater. Like there's nothing like going to the theater, bro. Like you get drawn into the world. You know what I mean? Get drawn into the movie. Like that's how you're supposed to watch a movie. The sounds. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I saw it on the AVX screen. It was like
oh,
big seats, big speakers. It's nothing like it. I was perfectly in the middle. There was nothing like it.
you know what I mean?
The thing is, I love it, but in theaters is the crowd. I think that's the best.
Yes.
I hate a quiet crowd in the theater. One of my best experiences I had in the theater is when Spider Verse Across the Spider Verse came out,
Ah.
and yeah, I caught it. It was the premiere day, but I went on the last screening of the night,
Oh no
and
way.
I tell
Oh.
you, I went and caught Dinesh. I live nearby
Shout
to
out.
that theater, like
Of
the
course.
$5 theater.
That ghetto ass
Oh, it
theater.
was my honestly my favorite in my life experience in theater. It was
mm.
packed. I barely found a seat. People were
Mm.
screaming, laughing,
Bro.
crying. And on the cliffhanger, so many
Ah.
reactions. It
I
was beautiful. It
the
was poetic. It was
clapping.
art.
Oh.
It,
And
yeah,
and it's
it
a sense
was.
of community, you know, like
It's exactly.
no, no,
Everybody felt as one in that theater. There, wow, it
bro.
was beautiful.
That's a special moment, bro. I hope everybody gets to feel that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible.
But W, bro. Look. Time for another movie and time for another
Yeah,
review, bro. All right. So look, I'm gonna cut it right here, y'all. All right. So look, shout out
perfect.
Evgeny. If y'all are watching this on YouTube, shout out Evgeny. You know what I mean? Shit is in the bio, all of his ads and everything. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. All right. Shout out. Let's cut it.